Welcome to Save Our Sleep. Tizzie and the Save Our Sleep team believe it's every child's right to receive comfort, a parent's right to demonstrate love, and everyone's right to a full night of sleep. This podcast is not a medical or scientific volume, but a collection of tried and tested solutions and tips based on my many years of experience with babies and young children. Its main purpose is to help parents understand and avoid sleep problems in young babies and toddlers.
We'd like to recognise the Wadawurrung people who are the traditional owners of this region, which Tizzie and myself live and are recording today's podcast on. We acknowledge and respect that they have taken care of this land and water and raised children in this nation for over an extraordinary 70,000 years. The Save Our Sleep podcast is dedicated to helping you prevent and solve sleep problems while having some fun along the way. We endeavour to discuss all things family related, starting from pre-conception all the way through to an adult child leaving home and beyond. Some topics may be triggering. If you find this is the case, please reach out to your or your child's health nurse or general practitioner.
Welcome back to the Save Our Sleep podcast, episode number 15. Welcome back, Tizzie Hall, and you're here with Tizzie and myself, Zoe Starr. Hi.
Good morning, Zoe.
It's a bit weird for our last episode of the season. Are we calling it?
Yes, we think so. We think this will be the last one for the season. Well, we didn't think we'd be here. We think everyone's the last one for the season, but that's what's so unpredictable about babies.
Yeah.
So, how's your week been?
Good. Like it's at that pointy end now, where time is ticking and I'm just waiting to meet our new boy. So not much to report. How about yours?
I'm wondering if I'm married to a serial killer or something.
I heard this word getting thrown around when we were getting ready for this recording, and I was not expecting you to connect it to your husband.
Well, it's like, okay, so here's a little story. Yeah?
Okay.
So I did a Coles online delivery.
Yes.
Right? Or a delivery, from Coles online, whatever it's called, okay?
Yeah.
And the shopping arrived, and normally the kids would just put all the shopping away, yeah? Mm-hmm. So our shopping arrives. I never check the list. I never check anything,
Sure.
yeah?
Yep.
All the shopping arrives I put away, okay?
Yep.
No, they put it away. Everybody puts it away, whatever. It just gets put away.
Sure.
Right? On this occasion, I and Dara were there alone and we were putting the shopping away and I found this bag and it was nothing that I would normally buy. Really strange stuff. Like there was brown oat porridge cereal or something and burgundy rum something, canned drink. It was bizarre. Okay, anyhow. So I, being Tizzie and loving Facebook, went to the local lost and found page and put a post up. I'll put a picture up to go with this podcast saying, does anyone own this bag of shopping? And then heard nothing. Okay. And then last night, so this was a few days ago, yeah?
Yeah.
And then last night, this man contacts me and says, my wife, who's got the same name as you, is missing that shopping. It's our shopping. And I'm like, oh, cool. Do you want me to put it outside? You can pick it up now. Do you want to come get it in the morning? Yeah, whatever, okay?
Right.
Well, I am a really nice, lovely, honest person, okay? If I was looking at me from the outside world, now a grandmother, Deborah, knows this because last night she accidentally put $500 into our work bank account and I immediately went I thought that's really odd. I went to the shop, I looked up the $500. I'm like, no, she's done this by mistake. I emailed her and I said, dear Barbara, have you accidentally given me $500? Yeah, she got back and said, oh my goodness, I was buying stuff a couple of years ago for my son, for my grandchild. And now, for some reason, I've got you in under his name in my internet banking.
Right. Okay.
Please may I have my $500 back? And I said, no, you can't. I'm keeping it as a gift. Ha ha, I've transferred it.
Yeah.
I believe there is more good people in the world and there is more good in the world than there is bad.
I
right?
do too.
But my serial killer husband, who's clearly a bad person, who clearly thinks that there's so much bad in the world, is like really angry with me. Like not angry, but annoyed.
Yeah.
He thinks I've done the wrong thing. He thinks that these people who've claimed the shopping don't own the shopping. He's like going, But you should have asked them what was in the bag, not told them what was in the bag. And who cares?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Put the shopping in the bin and go to landfill?
exactly.
If it's their shopping or it's not their shopping.
Surely people are not going to.
And I just think he's so negative. Like, what is it? Like, why is he so worried about the wrong people claiming
a bag of groceries?
Groceries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, the person turned up this morning, jumps out of their car and goes, "Hi, Marzi." So they even know Nathan's childhood nickname.
Oh, wow. So he
I'm
knows
like
him.
going out in my balcony half dressed going, "Hi, Nathan, you actually know the shopping thief?" And this poor woman's looking at me going, "But we live in a small town." But it was so funny.
Oh.
And I'm going to him, "Is she actually stealing the shopping? She even knows us." But yeah, it's random. And then the other thing we did, we ordered something and it was wrong. Yes. And we contacted Coles and told them it's wrong, and they said, "We're not taking it back. Give you a refund." And I made Dara run in and put it in their charity bin.
Oh, that was a good, nice thing.
Because
really nice
we've no use.
You weren't going to use it.
Because I'm that serial killer
Waste
person.
not, want not.
Anyhow, there you go. Now, you said that we had a couple of questions. Oh, no, so you don't really want to talk because you're just waiting on the baby. And
Oh, I'm so boring. I've got nothing to contribute. So
You're not boring. You're a mum of 2 beautiful boys who are at kinder. And are they settling in okay now?
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah,
okay, good. They've gone
came
over
and gone.
Little...
I think Otto had a temperature last weekend. So for 2 nights, and I had a bit of a cold. So we think it was that related. Like he's was really upset it wasn't kinder yesterday. So anyway, weird. This is cool. So we got some questions, but someone wants to know about us, Tizzie, instead of about their baby or the routine or something like that. So I thought we could
give me the questions.
Ask these now. So this is Tara. Thanks, Tara.
The same Tara who asked a question before.
Has she asked one before?
Yes, because wasn't she
Only you would remember this.
Tara asked, and then she asked how she gets her $20, and then I said you need to go to Instagram to under any post and comment that you're the Tara. That way the people in Instagram know that we're talking to real people and don't think that they're fake people because they're not all in the support group. Okay. Anyway, same Tara.
So if you want to claim a prize, anyone, and because the Tizzie throws
but
them
Tara
out
doesn't get a prize for this because this isn't a baby question.
Anyhow, well, the prize is the answer, Tara. So, Tizzie, if you weren't a baby whisperer, what career path do you think you'd have gone down, or do you think you'd go down?
That's a hard one because I can say I didn't want to be a baby whisperer. I wanted to be a vet, and I studied my butt off to get into university to be a vet.
Right.
And then I found out that you had to work on the animal's teeth. So I changed career from doing veterinary to doing child psychology. Mm-hmm. So I've never really thought. So my career I always wanted to be was a vet. Mm-hmm. And then I became a child psychology is what I went down. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I could. Maybe I'd flip back to a vet.
Sure. Something
what about
to do
you?
With animals.
What would you be?
It sounds crazy, but I wish I had have just gone down. My work experience was at a childcare centre, and to be honest, I just wish I had have stuck with that. Anything to do with kids. But I mean, because I don't work with kids, I'm a marriage celebrant. So
you work with creating kids because then they get married and then they have kids.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
Sometimes.
I might have to offer a package there. I'll marry you and then help you with your
Well, weren't we going to offer the whole come to save our sleep, get your kids sleeping, have babies, and then you were going to baptise them or naming days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
We could do a package.
Get married first and then you have your baby and then we'll baptise or give them a name.
Or don't get married. Some people don't get married.
Some people don't. And here we are. Okay, so that was a good one. Okay, and
has she got another question?
Yes. So if you and Zoe could have unlimited amounts of anything, what would it be? Money isn't an option.
I know the answer.
Okay.
So it's not money.
No, it's not money.
Do you know what? That's a really good question, Tara, because do you know what the answer is, Zoe? You and I would have the exact same thing.
Oh, I don't know what mine would be yet.
I know what yours would be.
Okay.
If Zoe and I could have endless amounts of anything, not money, I reckon we'd both have endless amounts of the same thing.
Is it wine?
No. It means no wine. Babies.
Oh,
if you could have an endless supply of your own babies, and they stayed babies. So let's keep them babies. So they go from 0 Well, that's why people have 100
to
babies.
3.
So they go from 0 to 2.
Oh, I'd
so
take
they
them
go
up
from
till
0 to 2,
Yep.
and then we get another one.
Yeah.
0 to 2, and then you get another one. 0, endless supply. I don't know what we
I
do
would
with them
take
after
that.
2.
Yeah, we'd have to figure something out. But
I do like my children, but I love babies. And do you know I have a theory. You love your baby when it's a baby. You love your baby at every stage.
Of course you
but
do.
I think from a foster mum point of view, and fostering other people's children and having babies come into your life, or being a nanny or being a carer or whatever, I think this is a weird thing, right? But this is what I think, if you have a child in your care, when they learn to walk, so when they're crawling, they get up, they take the first steps, they're crawling, they get up the face. I think you bond and fall in love with that child so deeply when they learn to walk that it is the hardest child to give up, right? So would that mean that carers working in daycare, if they're in the room with the children who are learning to walk, is that the hardest because you've got to give them up when they move to the next room? Yeah. I have another theory on that, which I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
But do you get what I mean? So if you're fostering a child, or you're nannying a child, or you're, full-time caring for a child, and they learn to walk in your care, I think you just fall deeply in love with them. I think it's the most special time.
Yeah.
Can you remember when the boys learned to walk?
Oh, yeah.
Did they learn to walk together or separately?
No, separately,
Yeah.
We got some beautiful footage of it as well.
And it's just...
My face is just screaming joy.
Yeah. And then my other theory is, which is really random, but Nathan and I always have theories on things.
Yes.
We find school teachers the hardest mums to help with their children with sleep problems. Right?
Yep.
It's like school teachers, children have sleep problems.
Right.
And I think it's something to do with the fact that they have children in their care, in their classroom, who they love and really, truly love. They'd have some that they don't particularly like.
Of course, yeah.
And then they have to give them away. And then they have to bond with new ones. And then they have them for a whole school year, and then they have to give them away. I think when they get their baby, they're so in love with the fact that this is theirs to keep forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Does it do something? And then can they not teach it boundaries?
Yeah.
Because they've done that all their career.
It's a really interesting concept.
Anyhow, we better move on to our episode, but it's really...
I'm going to think about that.
It's a really interesting
teacher
one.
friends, so...
It's...
I think there might be something in that.
It's just very interesting. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, today's topic, so we're continuing on, and we're hoping we might be able to get through the last of this chapter in the last of our...
Yes, so we were working through the sleep and settling chapter. We're not going to be able to cover it all because it's in the book, and this podcast is to go along with the book.
Right. Yeah.
So we're not... So this is the official episode 15, and we're going to try and cover some of this, but we're not going to be able to cover it all because of the... And we shouldn't have to because you've got the book, okay? So...
And just a reminder, if you've got specific questions on things that you want us to go more deeply into, to please contact us with your questions. Because
yes, and that's
how we know.
They'll come along at the end of series 2 and each episode.
That's right.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. So the first thing is early rising, okay? So I believe most children can sleep to 7 a.m. If your child sleeps till 6:20 from 7 o'clock at night.
Yes.
6:15, 6:20, quarter.
Yeah.
They've done well.
That's fantastic.
Like there's so many children who are up 4, 5, 6, 7 times a night. If your child is sleeping from 7 at night, even with or without a dream feed, needing nothing and getting up at 6:15 or 7 in the morning, good on them.
I think the Save Our Sleep support group has to be one of the only places in the world where mums get on there saying, my baby's waking at 6:20, how can I make them sleep longer? The vast majority of parents would understand that that's
I do
fantastic.
believe children are capable of sleeping till 7 a.m. and most children do, but sometimes it's really hard to work out what's stopping it and get the balance right.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the first things we look at with children not making it to 7 a.m. and waking at like 5 a.m. every morning and ready to start the day is the bedtime ritual. This is with older children.
Yep.
Sometimes we have covered this in other podcasts.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes they start falling asleep. So many people say you need to get them wound down and get them relaxed and get them sleepy before you put them in bed. Big no-no. If they're on your bed, if you're on their bed reading them stories, the last thing they're thinking of when they fall asleep is what they need to get from one sleep cycle to the next. So often it is as simple as changing that bedtime ritual. And then parents contact me and say, I've got an 18-month-old. They go to bed at 7 o'clock, but they wake up every morning at 5 and they can't get back to sleep. And then I say to the parents, look at the bedtime ritual. And then we look at the bedtime ritual and the parents might be reading 1, 2 or 3 stories in the bedroom on the kid's bed. And I say, no, let's change this. Do the stories out in the main area of the house.
Yes.
Then last thing before you put them in bed, brush their teeth, put them to bed, give them a bit of a tickle, say goodnight. Yeah. Mummy loves you, daddy loves you, whatever, and walk out. Or say your prayers. Some people say your prayers. We've been saying our prayers a lot this week due to our circumstances. And say your prayers, or if that's what you choose to do. And it doesn't have to be prayers to God. It can just be a nice little ritual.
You're thankful for.
Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. Thank you for my lovely day, Mummy and Daddy, if you don't want to pray to God or whoever. Sure. Okay, now, then the parents say, I did that, but my child screamed and crowed and yelled. I think fantastic. We found what the problem is. Your child doesn't know how to put themselves to sleep.
Yep, they're putting themselves to sleep.
So bedtime ritual.
Yep. And finishing with the brushing of the teeth is such a great idea.
Because they're wide awake.
Yeah, you've got to be wide awake, and even the minty flavours or the bubblegum flavours.
And that's why the dream feed really needs to go before they get all of their teeth, because you need to brush their teeth or with a little cloth or whatever. And we are going to get Melissa on to talk. Melissa, talk to us about teeth at some point.
We will do it.
I think
dental
episode. So that, and that's why Claire Byron Cook, who I talk about a lot.
Yes.
If you Google Claire Byron Cook Coke, she has had strips torn off her because she once said that breastfeeding an 18-month-old or 2-year-old 4, 5, 6 times a night, it's like giving them a bottle of Coke during the night. Because each time you breastfeed them during the night, if they're using the boob to get back to sleep, you should get up and brush their teeth. And then she got told, she said breast milk was the same as Coke. No, she was explaining the sugar content and the sucking during the night and what it does to their teeth.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, even we know that snacking, if a child's snacking throughout the day a lot, more than your 5 or 6 normal meals, that's bad for your teeth.
Yeah. But snacking all night.
Food of any kind is going, and then night
so
as well.
So a 2-year-old or some 3-year-olds, and I've had children as old as 6 come to me for help where they are breastfeeding every 40 minutes at night. So they go, suck, 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 back asleep.
Yeah.
Suck, 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 back asleep. Suck, 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 back every 40 minutes. And yes, the mum sleeps, but think of what it's doing to the teeth. Okay, so do it, but get up and brush their teeth every time. They're not really going to do that. But anyway, okay. So the next question is your baby warm enough to sleep all night? Bedding guide, bedding guide, bedding guide. We don't need to go there. You need to go back, look at the bonus episode. No, the bonus episode about the bedding guide.
I just meant it's the number one rule. The number one
Sorry, I thought
fundamental
fundamental. Is that even a word?
Yes, it is.
What does Sarah Supity do? What did you say? I don't know. You said Sarah Supity. You said something really weird when I said, I'm going off topic.
What's this going to be?
I asked you if your mattresses were mouldy and you said, yes, Supity Doop, or yes, Sarah.
I have no idea what you're on about.
And I Googled it and it said that it thought that you were faking what you were saying or something. I don't know. Okay, you'll have to look at Sarah Dippity Doo. What did you say?
I can't imagine.
What would you say? Yes. I thought it was like, yes, you detective, but it was weird. You said, yes, Sarah Dippity. It doesn't matter. Someone will know what you said. Okay. So the time of your toddler's daytime sleep. So this is really interesting. So we're talking a bit about older children here. So like with lots of stuff would save our sleep. And one thing that's not in here is video cameras. Children cannot sleep when there is a video camera peering at them all night. We talked about that in the last episode. So, too much day sleep or time of the day sleep. Hold on. For those who are not watching, I was having a drink. So, for some reason, the time of the morning sleep affects the time they wake up the next day. So, it's like at a certain age, once they're sleeping in sleep cycles, whatever sleep they have before the magic time. I'm going to use a 1-year-old as an example,
Great.
okay? Just so that we have an example. It's in the book. It's explained in great detail in the book. As we keep saying, read the book along with the podcast, okay? So read this chapter, which is chapter 9, then listen to this podcast.
Please do.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. I had dinner once with people called, they were actually, I'm not going to say their names. Some people listening to this will know exactly who they are. So she's a GP and he's a gastroenterologist doctor.
Okay.
Yep. And we had dinner with them one night and they were telling me how their child was waking up every morning at 5 a.m.
Yep.
And I was saying to them, well, what time do you go to bed? 11 a.m. And their child was 17 months.
Okay.
And I'm going, that's the problem. Any sleep your child is getting so we're saying at 17 months, any sleep your child is getting before 1 p.m. comes off the next night's sleep. Yep. So at 17 months, you'd think they might have a bit of a small sleep in the day, but depending on the time, it comes off the next night's sleep. So let's now take a 1-year-old, like I said, as an example. A 1-year-old's day sleep sometimes needs to be at midday. Not always. They can still be on 2 sleeps. And if they're on 2 sleeps, we'll talk about 2 sleeps in a second. If they're on 2 sleeps, that's great.
Okay.
But if they're early rising at 5:20 a.m., you think the reason they're early rising at 5:20 a.m. is because they're getting too much sleep at the wrong time of the morning. Okay? So if you put that 1-year-old to bed at 12 noon, they sleep till 7 a.m. the next morning. If you put that 1-year-old to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning, those 2 hours before 12 seem to come off the next night. Right?
Yep.
So I say with early rising in this kind of age group, move the morning sleep forward by 20 minutes for 5 days.
Yes.
And then see if it affects the wake up the next morning.
Okay.
It might affect it a little bit. If it's not 7 o'clock, move it another 20 minutes. Now, people always ask about the day sleep. So with my routines, you want the morning sleep to get later and longer, and you want the afternoon sleep to get later and shorter. The morning sleep gets later and longer, the afternoon sleep gets later and shorter, and then eventually it becomes a nap. A nap is only one sleep cycle, it sleeps more than one, and then eventually the afternoon sleep disappears. People have a child who sleeps, and I have a bit of a theory on this. People who follow Save Our Sleep from day one, it's like their kids get enough sleep in the bank, they don't need a lot of day sleep. And I'd much rather my child have 12 hours at night and not as much day sleep yet.
Absolutely.
So people find that they have this baby who's perfectly happy on the routine, still about 9, 10 months, even sometimes 12 months. And then all of a sudden, they need to go to a later morning sleep. And then all of a sudden, it needs to go later and later. And suddenly, it's this big sleep at 12 or 12:30. It's like it goes from happy at 10 o'clock, suddenly needs to be 11 o'clock, suddenly needs to be 11:20, 11:40, 11, suddenly needs to be 12, and then they'll get to 12:45 and they'll be happy for a year. Okay, we see that a lot. And a lot of people ask about that, about moving to 1 day sleep.
They do,
And when do you move to 1 day sleep? Well, you move to 1 day sleep when it goes wrong.
That's right. You
but
only
then
ever change a routine.
What happens is people can put their child to bed at 11 and then they'll sleep for 2.5 hours. Never let them sleep for more than 2.5 hours in one sleep block.
Okay.
Don't do 3 hours, But then if they sleep for 2.5 hours and then the 3 hour 20-minute gap, so let's say they've gone to bed at 11, 12, 1, they wake at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, it's like we can't get a nap in.
Don't have time for that.
So some people find that they can't get their kid to 7 o'clock at night without an extra little nap in. So they actually wake their child up after 2 hours in the morning in order to get that little nap in the afternoon.
And that's okay?
And that's okay. Yes. And you have to do what works for your family.
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing that's okay is if you have a toddler, this is something which we talk about in the toddler book, but we'll mention it now. If you have a new baby and you have a toddler and you're putting the toddler down in the day for a sleep, or a nap, or you put them down to bed, let's say 1:30 at the same time as the baby at one point in the routines. And then you get a break from both baby and toddler. And your toddler, let's say you put your toddler in bed at 1 and you put your baby in bed at 1, right? And your baby sleeps for 2 hours. Your toddler talks for half an hour, then sleeps for an hour, and then talks for half an hour and then gets up. But then when you put your toddler to bed at 7 o'clock at night, they don't end up going to sleep till 8:30 at night, but they're in bed happy. So they're in bed resting, happy from 7 till 8:30 at night. because you've bought yourself 2 hours worth of mental health and sanity, it's okay during the day.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not the reason why they're not going to sleep at 7 o'clock at night. If they're still sleeping till roughly 7 in the morning and they're not crying in bed from 7 till they go to bed at 8:39, and it's giving everybody in the household sanity, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because they're getting enough sleep
Sure.
in 24 hours, if you include the sleep or the nap and the night sleep.
Yep.
They're resting when they're in bed chatting for the half an hour at lunchtime before they fall asleep. They're resting when they're in bed from 7 to 9 o'clock at night.
Doing a lot of brain work too.
Yeah, and you've got your sanity because you as a mum, I would like to say you as a mum are getting to lie down for 2 hours, but no, you're preparing dinner and you're preparing baby food and you're sterilising breast pump parts.
But you'll be doing it on your own, which is a treat.
Okay, so there you go. Right.
Yep.
Too much day sleep. Sometimes children are having way too much day. I just talked about that. And that will cause early rising as well.
Yep.
Sometimes your baby's diet. Stage 1 infant formula we need to have until 14 months before you move to cow's milk.
Why state? I don't think you've told us why.
So we'll put a link up. There's a lady who is a nutritionist. I always want to call her Katrina, but I'm not sure if that's her name. She's an Irish lady from Northern Ireland, and she's on one of the morning shows. And she talks about, she went to the Royal Children's and she was at a conference at the Royal Children's, and she talks about how they have linked the stage 2 to obesity and so on, and it's not needed. And also, I believe it's just a marketing ploy. It's like they can't advertise stage 1 or stage 2, but they can advertise toddler milk on the telly. So it's like they've brought out stage 2 and stage 3 to make you feel like you have to do it. So they brainwash us. Marketing brainwashes us. So if you go to the supermarket and you buy your baby infant formula stage 1, and then you see on the telly, now that your child's 12 months old, you need to move to stage 3 infant formula, and they advertise that on the telly, you think, well, how do I go from stage 1 to stage 2? So by the time they've got you doing stage 1, then you're kind of manipulating doing stage 2, then you naturally follow to stage 3 because you feel like you're supposed to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
But you don't need to.
Yeah.
Not if your child's having a healthy diet. You don't need to. So we'll put the link up to this nutritionist blog. And also, you have to remember, I only see the babies that have sleep problems. But I see babies. I see all the time. There's a Facebook group. Can somebody please let me know if I'm allowed to comment in there as Tizzie Hall? But they always go on about, I've moved my baby to infant formula stage 2 and they're waking up and this, and they don't realise the connection. And they're going, I think they're not drinking as much and they've got a sore tummy. And people don't realise it seems to give babies a sore tummy. It seems to make them night wake. It seems to make them catnap. Okay, so... And it's explained again, lots of blogs. We'll put links up.
And I think, like, ingredient-wise, it's just not as nutritional. Or
maybe it's more, like, I think there's other stuff in it, like iron and stuff, which can make them constipated.
Right, which really, ultimately,
I don't know.
Your solids should be giving you those nutrients, not a stage 2 formula.
So there's other stuff, which, you know, I would prefer to link to someone else who's a nutritionist. Information and try and go into it.
If you're a nutritionist and you have advice on that.
We have the advice. So we have the person to link to.
All right. Okay, you're going to put that.
So she's connected to the Royal Children's. No, nobody'd understand her voice. She might come on the podcast, but I don't think people would understand her voice. If they would, I'm joking. She might come on the podcast. Okay. She's from Northern Ireland and someone's going to tell me her name. So, but we will link it to this podcast. Okay. So, too much day sleep, your baby's diet, we talked about that, changing the 7 p.m. bedtime. So lots and lots of people say, it's like one of these things. People say, Tizzie says, babies poo because they're cold. I don't say that. I say, babe, I love how it just gets Chinese whispers. I think we had the forums and I was having kids and there were lots of helpers in the forums and it just became gospel, all these people's information. I don't say children wake up and poo because they're cold. I say, if your child doesn't have enough bedding or their routine's wrong and they wake in the early hours of the morning, while they're awake and lying there, they just poo. So the poo has come a result of them being cold, but they've woken cold and then pooed. They don't poo to warm up.
No.
Then you see Tizzie also say poo to warm up. There's another myth. We just broke another Tizzie Hall myth. It's not the case. They're awake
because
they're cold, and then because they're awake, they poo. And yes, you should change the poo. You should always change your baby if you know that they have pooed. You just don't change a potty training toddler who's doing pedals every 30 seconds to get you in the room. Yeah. Right. So now what I see a lot on the Save Our Sleep support group is put your baby to bed at 6:30 at night. Put your baby to bed at 6:30. No. If your baby... No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
If your baby is like 4 or 5 months, okay, people don't comprehend this. And there's a science behind the book. So you will see in the younger routines, I basically say a baby can go from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. So we're talking about a 5-month-old baby can get from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night without getting overtired. Night. 3 p.m. feed to 7 o'clock at night without getting overtired. Right?
Yes.
They need the 3 o'clock feed before 6.5 months. It's really important. Milk is the most important food for a child before 6.5, before a year old. Before 6.5 months, they need the 3 o'clock feed at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
The mum's boobs need to be milked at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
5-month-old babies, even some 4.5-month-old babies, can easily get from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Right? Now I'm going to throw you. 7-month-old babies can't.
Okay. Why? Because of their different nap times.
Because they're trying to move.
So
a 4 or 5-month-old baby but is happy to lie on the play mat,
so true.
Look at black-coloured things, goo goo gaga, just lie. You don't have to throw toys in front of them. Stop shoving toys in front of them. Let them lie there and take the world in. They'll start to slowly roll. Remember, when your child starts rolling in their uptime and you're using the Save Our Sleep bedding, it's the most important time to wrap them. They just don't use that much energy. A 7-month-old is getting up on all fours if you've not sat them. So if you followed the Save Our Sleep approach and lay them to work it out themselves, a 7-month-old is starting to move, is starting to use energy. They're knackered. They can't get from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So they need you to let them sleep a bit longer. They need to be woken at the 3:20 and so on, and
makes
you can.
Sense.
Okay, makes sense. So lots of people go, I'll put them to bed at 6:30 at night. If you put your child to bed at 6:30 at night, 4 or 5-month-old, all the time, you don't expect them to sleep past 6:30 in the morning. You're shifting the whole routine. Don't.
Sure.
Yes, I do say if you've tried everything else with your toddler and you can't get them to sleep, put them to bed earlier. Because they might be have not had any day sleep. They might be exhausted. Yet putting them to bed at 6:30 at night might just change their sleep cycles. We're talking about a toddler, not a little baby, okay? And now we've talked about the time of the morning sleep, so that is covered. We are getting through this quite quickly. And we've talked about, cold at sleep time. So we talk about the fact that, so what do I say here? I say, this topic, would you like to read that? Why don't you read that? And then I can...
Cold at sleep time.
Page 194, cold at sleep time.
This is a topic which comes up frequently for me. Since 2002, I've mostly worked with families in Australia, but for 10 years before that, I was in the UK. The thing that surprises me most is the difference between how the two sides of the world dress their babies at night. In the UK, parents put a lot more clothing on their babies at night, and the temperature of their room or homes is actually warmer than the nighttime temperature of most homes I visit in Australia. Absolutely it is, because they have those gorgeous water heaters. What is it? Hydronic, and they're cosy cottages. But in Australia, we don't have that.
We do at my house. And how well did your children sleep, Zoe?
Yeah. Well, no, but I use a heater in the boys' room.
No, I know you said that when you came to our house.
Yes, I think it was one of the factors for sure, 100%. Okay, the type of central heating used in the UK seems to keep the house at a more even temperature throughout the night in the winter. Also in Australia during the summer, I've noticed babies get very cold if an air conditioner is running. Absolutely they do. Not even sure if it is the warmth that babies like or if it's the extra layers, which makes them feel cozier and more secure, but I do know that extra layers can stop babies from waking during the day and night sleeps.
So it's interesting because I really, really think it's to do with the hydronic heating. And I know you're saying you've got a heater in the boys' room, and I'm not,
No, but we don't have it. You had it at like 20 degrees, and we have ours
the whole
at like
house.
18, 19.
with the hydronic heating, it heats everything.
Yes.
So your
And it's
stone
gorgeous.
bench
Yeah.
is warm.
Yeah.
Your walls are warm.
true. Yeah.
Your furniture is warm. When you have this, and I'm not saying you have it, I'm saying homes in Australia have it,
Yes.
this air heating,
Yep.
it heats the air, but it doesn't heat. Like, feel this table.
Yep.
Like, the table
cold.
is cold.
Yes.
Feel these
Yep.
iron on these
Icy.
chairs.
Yeah.
Icy cold.
Yes.
When you have hydronic heating,
Yes.
all of
Everything's
this stuff
warm.
warms up. It's really
True.
different.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that is,
So everyone go and install
bedding guide.
hydronic
No. And Zoe's husband is a hydronic heating installer.
no.
And my husband is a builder. No, mine's a carpenter, hers electrician. So tradies, I'm joking. Mine's a serial killer. Mine's a serial killer.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But
Okay.
he doesn't trust people. I don't know what's wrong with him. And he's got, we are on a very
Suspicious
different
man.
pages about funerals. So and again, you can go to the support group and we won't get too into it, but we have a funeral that I need to go to on Monday and Kieran wants to go. And Nathan is very much 7-year-old, no place. He'll be 8 on Monday, actually. He'll be 8 tomorrow. No place for a child to go to a funeral. And then eventually I said to Nathan, I'm going to ask the mum at school who's got 2 children, similar ages, and she's a paediatrician. And he was like, whatever she says. And then when I got to school, her children are going to the funeral. So it was like, Nathan, and we shouldn't be smiling, it's absolutely terrible and traumatic, and you will go to the support group and you'll find out what we're talking about. We can't talk about it now or I will cry. And it was expected, so it's not something that's not expected. But I can't get over how Nathan and I are on such different pages. And it comes down to childhood experiences. And I was chatting to the paediatrician at school about this, the mum at school.
Yes.
And she was like, but this is so good, because last night we went to school and we had a little service at school for the children. It wasn't actually a service. The school chaplains talked. It was beautiful. It was just a beautiful thing at school. And the children were there and a lot of children were crying. And she was saying, it's so good. This is so good. This is such part of their emotions and their learning. And maybe that's why Nathan can't deal with emotions, because he was so sheltered. And it wasn't because his parents sheltered him.
Sure.
It's because he's not from a big family. And there's a thing in Ireland, you say, oh, how is it? Do you know, somebody said recently, and I've said it in the podcast before, do you know what the Irish do properly? Funerals.
Yeah.
We are very proud of how we do our funerals, And if anything happened to anyone in my family, I'd bring them back to my house. And you're allowed to do that. No one knows that. They don't have to go to an undertaker's or
that's
whatever.
true, yeah.
And we do funerals properly. And I laugh thinking back, because as a child, we used to say to our friends at school, well, how many funerals did you go to at the weekend? Like, it's not a thing here. Here people go to weddings and birthday parties and sports. Irish go to funerals.
Okay.
And then my kids said, do more people die in Ireland? And I'm like,
no more people.
I just think we're so much more, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like in Ireland, you're driving down the street every day. This happens every day. You're driving down the street and a car comes along with a black ribbon on the front, like what you have for wedding cars.
Yes.
And then all these other cars come along behind with black ribbons tied to them. And everybody stops. And you let all of those cars go through the roundabout together. Here, when I see a wedding car, I stop, thinking that's what you're supposed to do. And people look at me like...
It's lights on in Australia. Did you know that?
For
That's
what?
how you know they're going to a funeral, if you see a few cars with their lights on.
And you stop and let them all go?
Yeah, I think you should, yes.
Yeah, I don't think you do. But you don't
but
see
you don't
it.
see it. No,
Like you'd
that's the
see it a few
point.
times.
Yeah,
Because
if
we
you're
have churches
driving near a
and...
cemetery, maybe.
We have, okay, let's move on. So one more thing in this topic I think to discuss is, well, the teaching self-settling, we haven't really touched on that. Like we've touched on different age groups. It's very different for different age groups. You've got, so before we go into that, let's just say teething.
Yes.
Yep. So we've got teething in this chapter. Read about it in the book. So teething, if you've got a good sleeper, they really shouldn't be waking up at night from teething.
Yeah,
but
mine
then
never did.
there is some evidence to show that teething can cause a temperature and they need less bedding when they're teething. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
And that they might get unsettled from getting too hot when they're teething rather than the pain waking them up. So teething, it's, and then I find that babies get terrible runny nappies and then a tooth comes. But then they say that there's no evidence to connect the two. So teething's interesting. Amber teething necklaces, big no-no. Amber teething necklaces seem to stop the drool, right?
Yes.
we did a little experiment in New Zealand once.
Right.
And put lots of amber teething necklaces around our friend's dog, a bulldog that just dripped and dripped and dripped. It dried up all the saliva.
Oh, how interesting.
So the amber teething necklaces, something about them dries up the saliva and makes you think that your child isn't teething. But the saliva is there to disinfect
of course it is.
the
It's
mouth.
got a job. Yes.
And then you dry up the saliva and then the gums, it's going to make the teething harder because the gums aren't going to be soft.
Yeah, well, it's happening for a reason.
Can someone tell us, a dentist?
Yeah,
is the gums going to get harder? Is it not going to have the antibacterial saliva
as well,
so amber and they're dangerous. Royal Children's Hospital told us to put that in the feeding book, because they just wanted us, or maybe the toddler book, amber teething necklace. No, right. So let's quickly, teaching your baby to self-settle. There is a chart on page 199. It explains the different times, etc. We have touched over it in different points. We have got different settling methods for children lying down, children standing in the cot, and so on. I can't cover it all in today's podcast. We want to wrap this series up, say we've covered pretty much everything in the book. We will cover that when people ask questions, and we will cover it with your baby testing the boundaries if you are kind enough, which at this point you think you will be, to come back and do a week by week or a couple of weeks by couple of weeks.
Follow the bubba.
Following the baby, following your questions. And so on. And then at some point we'll do the toddler book, and at some point we'll do the toddler book and the feeding book at some point. Yeah. But they may get covered in the questions. Yeah. So let's move on to today's reader's question.
Yeah. It's a good one, actually.
Oh, good. Because you said it was going to be a long one and to leave a bit of extra time.
Okay.
Which I have.
So Tizzie Hall, this week's question is from Tori, and it says, my baby will be due to start solids in a few weeks. However, I'm reading a lot of information about how baby rice cereal isn't healthy. Can you please explain the benefits of starting babies on this?
Okay. So before I answer the question from Tori, it's Tori, yes?
Yes, it is Tori. Well done.
If you would like to ask a question on the Save Our Sleep podcast, you need to be a member of the Save Our Sleep community. And to become a member, you come to the website, you purchase all the correct bedding so that we can get your child sleeping. If you're not on a budget to be able to purchase it, you can go to the second-hand page and ask people. People are very happy to donate it and not cause landfill, and to also sell it or loan it. Okay,
we're all on this group.
It does last a long time, so sometimes you can keep it for your children and their children, and so you have the bedding, and when you have the bedding, you join the support group, and in the support group, you can ask a question on the podcast thread. Okay, so really good question. So I'm a little bit, how do I answer it? So in the ideal world, you probably wouldn't give your child rice cereal because, why do we give a child rice cereal? Well, we give a child rice cereal because we want to give them iron. But did you know that Dara has had iron deficiency as a result of COVID? I've said this. And he's trying to drink this iron supplement. I've just had a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
Why don't I give him baby rice in a smoothie?
100%, because the iron supplements for kids are taste like metal.
So I'm back to, I'd like to be sponsored by the Netflix series Babies.
I tried to look for that actually, and I couldn't find it.
If you go to go to Netflix, search Babies, and then on it says part 2. You need to click on it and change it to part 1. And the one they have on solids is really, really interesting. They talk about how children need iron from 16 weeks and they get irritable. Now, I have noticed that if children do not have iron added to their diet at 16 weeks, by 18 weeks, they're so irritable. It's like they've got a headache and they're grumpy and so on. So,
can I throw in a quick fact?
Yes.
A baby of 6 months needs 11 milligrams per day, while an adult male only needs 8.
So what does an adult male eat
mind-blowing?
To get iron?
Meat. An adult male eats
what type of meat?
Eats a lot of meat.
Because I need to give Dara meat then. What will I give him?
Oh, red meat. Red meat.
Like what?
Beef and lamb.
And liver?
Yeah, liver. So
egg
you've got to get into your offal.
Okay. So how are we going to give a 16-week-old baby?
Exactly right.
Okay. So this is why we give. Okay. So yes.
Here's your answer.
Iron, infant rice iron cereal. I hear all the time it's full of arsenic. Well, it's not, because we live in Australia and they're not going to let something pass the food standards that has enough. Maybe it has tiny traces, but not enough. Okay. And anyhow, how much plastic's in your body? I was reading that the other day. I was watching a documentary on Netflix called 101 McDonald's.
Netflix.
Yes. And we want to be responsible. And the amount of plastic we absorb from just the air. Okay. So anyway, iron, right? So you need to give them the rice cereal for two reasons. One, milk. Your baby's infant milk is the most important food till 12 months.
Yes.
At 18 weeks, regardless of whether your baby has or hasn't started solids, they stop taking their milk. I do not know why. You give me an 18-week-old baby who's on solids, they stop taking the milk. You give me an 18-week-old baby who's never had solids.
Yes.
They stop taking their milk. And then people think, it's the solids. It's the solids. No, it's not the solids. It's like babies know what they need. And it's like the baby's body is going, you need iron now, not milk. You need iron. You need what? 11 by 6 months, you need 11 milligrams of iron. So stop taking the milk. Okay, they need the milk. So how do we give them the milk? I give them the milk by bulking up the solids with the milk. So you take your few cubes of carrots and your few cubes, and we've so got to do a podcast on starting solids because people make it way too complicated and it's so easy, I think. Anyhow, you just throw everything in the saucepan and puree it all, you know. So you take your small ice cube of carrot and your small ice cube of peas and whatever, and you put it in, and then you throw your milk in.
Yes.
Yep. Well, it's going to be runny as like just feeding them liquid. Liquid. Well, no, you need to put something in to make it thicker. So I use the rice cereal.
Iron fortified rice
cereal. And then you're giving them the iron.
That's right.
And you're giving them their milk.
Yep.
So, yes, they need the iron, but yes, people say that rice cereal isn't good for you. Rice cereal isn't good for you, okay? But we can't give them oats at 16 weeks. We can't give them corn flour at 16 weeks. We can't give them liver at 16 weeks. So we give them rice cereal and then we add the milk in. Okay, does that answer
I think it
the
does.
question?
Yeah, I think it does. And Tori, it was really interesting. I jumped on Google and read a few articles to see where you were coming from there, because I've heard it too. I have to say that a lot of the articles I read contained a lot of spelling errors. So I think that's number one for, number one for their credibility.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah, go on.
You can't say that. I've got dyslexia, and the number one criticism of Tizzie Hall is she says there when it's there, and
you do
the wrong this and the wrong that. And
but Tizzie, you're not writing these blogs or these where if you on your website you have people editing and taking that out. So when you write as Tizzie Hall on your support, we will forgive you for being human and having dyslexia. Well, we will. Can we please? But
I say it. I have dyslexia. I have ADHD. Yes. I said when I recorded my audiobook, and the audiobook is being released today worldwide, it still hasn't been, they keep telling me it is. I said I was in this room and I had to sit there, and I have ADHD and I have dyslexia. And there's another thing that you have when you have both of those, where you just say what's on your mind without stopping and thinking about it. Like you just
sound
say
like
it.
You at all.
No, you just say it and you can't help yourself. And then people criticised me for saying that. And I think, no, it's made me into this person. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with my life, and I'm
very proud
of where I've come from. And I'm not going to pretend I don't. Like, Richard Branson has dyslexia. We're in a club. Everyone who says it's wrong to admit it, go get stuffed. Is that rude?
Of course it's not.
Anyhow, what were you going to say? What's your next fact?
And then the other bit that I just wanted to say that so many of these articles that I read included is that but because of the crucial role, I'm reading exactly from an article right now.
For the Royal Children's? Did you find out what they say?
Well, I mean, it's one of them. No, sorry, I'm not quoting it. There is a place for iron-fortified baby cereal in the diet of some, for example, plant-based families or babies that don't have access to iron-rich foods. So they actually usually do say that ultimately there is a place for iron-fortified baby cereal. But I think Tizzie has explained really clearly why it's so important, and especially when you're starting your baby at 16 weeks, which is what she recommends for so many amazing reasons. So,
and if there's any nutritionist out there who can help me, Dara got COVID and it's affected his iron supplies. I don't really know why. And so now I'm thinking, if I was to make him up like a nice smoothie in the morning and put rice cereal, how would I do it? How much would I put in? Someone give me a tip. Because he gags and vomits on that supplement.
Oh, it's horrible. That was another one of those things that I did when the boys were in hospital and they were given this iron, and it was everything they did I'd try to do if I could. And trying that iron supplement, it was horrendous.
But
it
how
tastes
did they
like
give
you're
it to the
eating
boys?
money. We just had to put it in their mouth with a syringe.
They cry?
Yes, they hated it.
Oh.
It was horrible. Sometimes I'd mix it through the bottle, but then I think it makes the whole bottle taste yucky. So I usually just popped it in there.
I don't know why they couldn't just put it down the tube.
Well, we did do that initially, but once they were off the tube. Iron and milk, number one, two important things, and that is why baby cereal is your key.
Yes. So that is it for podcast series 1. Well done.
Where's the I wish we had the round of applause button ready to go.
And we can clap for ourselves.
Congratulations, and thank you so much, Tizzie, for the opportunity to co-host this.
Well, thank you to all of our listeners for listening.
Thank you
because
so much to our listeners and your feedback and your
but
kind words.
If you want us to come back and do series 2, we need some stars. Get on to the different stores and give us some stars.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. And yes.
Yeah. We'd love to.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't wait to come back.
Anyway, we will let you know what we think is going to happen in series 2. Everybody take care and
Talk to you
very
soon.
much.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Save Our Sleep podcast, brought to you by the International Baby Whisperer Proprietary Limited. You will find more information about the Save Our Sleep philosophy, product support, and how to watch the mini clips that accompany this podcast at saveoursleep.com. You may find the Save Our Sleep social media accounts by searching Tizzie Hall on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my how-to videos and to watch the podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate the podcast and share it with your friends. I would like to thank Zoe Starr for co-hosting, Ben at Fundamental Studios Geelong for the amazing podcast recording room, Nick Dale at Primer Films for this production, and most of all, you, the listeners. Without you, there would be no reason for this podcast. Please enjoy, stay safe, and Zoe and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week.